World War II was one of the most devastating and far-reaching conflicts in human history, lasting from 1939 to 1945. The war's roots can be traced to the rise of Adolf Hitler and Nazi Germany, whose aggressive expansionist policies sparked the conflict. It all began on the 1st of September 1939, when Hitler's forces launched a surprise invasion of Poland, employing the highly effective Blitzkrieg lightning war tactics. This rapid, overwhelming attack, characterized by fast-moving tanks, infantry, and airstrikes, quickly overwhelmed the Polish defenses, resulting in the country's swift occupation. The invasion of Poland sent shockwaves through the world. In response, Britain and France declared war on Germany. But for several months, little military action followed, leading to the period known as the Phony War.
It's over now.
During this time, the Allies, though formally at war with Germany, took limited military action. However, in 1940, the war escalated dramatically as Germany launched further offensives. They quickly defeated Denmark and Norway, then turned westward, launching attacks on Belgium, the Netherlands, and ultimately France. The speed and success of the German military were stunning. As the German forces advanced, the British Army found itself retreating and fighting to avoid complete annihilation. The British managed to evacuate hundreds of thousands of soldiers from the beaches of Dunkirk in a dramatic operation known as the Dunkirk Evacuation, or Operation Dynamo. Despite this evacuation, Britain stood alone against Germany, and it wasn't long before the Germans shifted their focus to Britain. This resulted in the Battle of Britain, where the Luftwaffe, the German Air Force, launched heavy bombing raids against British cities and military targets. This phase of the war, known as the Blitz, lasted from 1940 to 1941. However, despite the devastation, the British Royal Air Force, RAF, managed to fend off the Luftwaffe, preventing a German invasion of Britain. The war in Europe took a significant turn in June 1941 when Hitler, violating the Non-Aggression Pact with the Soviet Union, launched Operation Barbarossa, an invasion of the Soviet Union. This colossal military campaign stretched across vast distances and led to intense battles. But despite initial successes, the Germans were unprepared for the harsh Russian winter and the fierce Soviet resistance. Operation Barbarossa marked a turning point in the war, as Germany was now fighting a two-front war, one in the west against Britain and one in the east against the Soviet Union. Meanwhile, in the Pacific theater, tensions had been rising between the United States and Japan for years. The Japanese Empire, under Emperor Hirohito, had been expanding its influence throughout Asia, invading China and other territories in the region. On the 7th of December 1941, Japan launched a surprise attack on the U.S. naval base at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii, bringing the United States into the war. The attack resulted in significant damage to the U.S. Pacific Fleet, killing over 2,400 Americans, and led to the United States declaring war on Japan the following day. Shortly after, Germany and Italy, Japan's Axis partners, declared war on the United States, marking the official entry of the United States into World War II on both the European and Pacific fronts. The Axis powers, led by Germany, Italy, and Japan, sought to expand their territories through military conquest. In contrast, the Allied powers, including Britain, the Soviet Union, the United States, and later many other nations, opposed the Axis aggression and fought to preserve freedom and sovereignty across the world. In 1942, the Nazis implemented what became known as the Final Solution, a systematic plan to exterminate the Jewish population of Europe. This horrific policy led to the deaths of approximately 6 million Jews in the Holocaust, a genocide that remains one of the darkest chapters in human history. The atrocities committed by Nazi Germany during this period, including mass executions and the establishment of concentration camps, shocked the world and galvanized the Allies' determination to defeat the Axis powers. Critical battles in 1942 and 1943 began to change the tide of the war. In the Pacific, the Battle of Midway in June 1942 was a decisive turning point. The U.S. Navy, having broken Japan's naval code, ambushed and destroyed much of the Japanese fleet, including 4 aircraft carriers. This victory halted Japan's expansion in the Pacific and shifted the balance of power in favor of the Allies. In North Africa, the British, led by General Bernard Montgomery, won a decisive victory over German forces under General Erwin Rommel at the Battle of El Alamein in November 1942. This victory ensured that the Axis would not be able to take control of the Suez Canal and gain access to the oil-rich Middle East, a critical resource for the Axis war effort. In the Soviet Union, the Battle of Stalingrad, which lasted from August 1942 to February 1943, became a symbol of Soviet resilience and determination. The German Sixth Army was encircled and defeated in a brutal winter battle, marking the first major defeat for Nazi Germany on the Eastern Front. This victory, followed by the Soviet counteroffensive, began the long process of pushing German forces back toward Berlin. The year 1944 saw the Allies making significant strides toward victory in Europe. On the 6th of June 1944, known as D-Day, the Allies launched Operation Overlord, the largest amphibious invasion in history, landing in Normandy, France. The successful landings marked the beginning of the liberation of Western Europe from Nazi occupation. The invasion was followed by months of fierce fighting as the Allies advanced through France, liberating Paris in August 1944. While the Western Allies were making significant progress, the Soviet Red Army had also been advancing from the east. By early 1945, Soviet forces were closing in on Berlin, and the collapse of Nazi Germany was imminent. Hitler, realizing defeat was inevitable, committed suicide on the 30th of April 1945 as Soviet forces were entering Berlin. Germany officially surrendered on the 7th of May 1945, marking the end of the war in Europe. In the Pacific, the war raged on with fierce fighting between the United States and Japan. The U.S. had made significant progress in the Pacific, island hopping from one strategic location to another, pushing Japan closer to defeat. The turning point came in August 1945 when the United States dropped atomic bombs on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. These devastating attacks, combined with the Soviet Union's declaration of war on Japan, forced Japan to surrender. On the 15th of August, 1945, Japan officially announced its surrender, a day now known as VJ Day, Victory over Japan Day. The formal surrender ceremony took place aboard the USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay on the 2nd of September, 1945, officially ending World War II. World War II was the deadliest and most destructive conflict in human history, claiming the lives of an estimated 70 to 85 million people, or roughly 3% of the world's population at that time. The war led to the fall of empires, the rise of new superpowers, and the creation of the United Nations, an international organization designed to prevent future global conflicts. The effects of the war were felt around the world and continue to shape international relations to this day. World War II also marked a turning point in the technological and military landscape, with innovations such as the atomic bomb, jet engines, and radar playing pivotal roles in the outcome of the war. The war's legacy remains a solemn reminder of the horrors of global conflict, and its lessons continue to inform international relations, diplomacy, and peacekeeping efforts. In summary, World War II was a global conflict that shaped the course of the 20th century. It was a battle of ideologies, with the Axis powers seeking territorial expansion and the Allies fighting to preserve freedom and democracy. The war witnessed significant military battles, devastating loss of life, and the implementation of horrific policies such as the Holocaust. It ultimately resulted in the defeat of the Axis powers and the emergence of the United States and the Soviet Union as the two dominant superpowers, setting the stage for the Cold War and shaping the world order for decades to come.